Hey, what's going on, guys? Today in this video, I want to share with you my thoughts on the Red Atom rack. We've had it here in the Obsessed Home Theater lab now for the past couple months. I did a full video on this. I'll link it down in the description below. I went over all the specs on this. We did an actual unboxing. We also did an assembly, so I won't bore you with that, but I want to share with you in this video what are some things that I've noticed over the past 2 months. These are things that I love and things that I'd love to see improved maybe on the next rendition of the Red Atom rack. So let's just go ahead and dive right into it. The first thing that I love about Red Atom and why we wanted to partner with them to become a dealer for them is because I see a massive amount of value in this product. I was comparing the Red Atom racks with other brands out there, Strong AV, Middle Atlantic, lots of other brands, and those are great brands, but man, they were getting on up there. They cost a considerable amount more than these, and most of the time they didn't even include any kind of racking, any kind of shelves. And so not only are you paying more for the whole rack than you do for this and the shelves, but then you got to buy the shelves individually. And so we'll talk about that, some pros and cons, but first of all, like I said, the value proposition that Red Atom provides is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Now, we can't sell these directly on our website, like you can't click add to cart, but just go to our website, Obsessed Home Theater, and then click on contact us, and then it'll send me an email. Tell me what you're interested in. Do you need a 42U? Do you need a 24U? That's basically just the size and how many shelves you're gonna have, and then I can get you a price on that. But this unit has been great for the lab. I love the fact that it comes with the door, glass door. So this is tinted. So it's got a nice tint here. It comes with a lock, and we open up the glass door. So if you have a setup to where you don't even want the door, you just want it for the rack, there's two little pins right here. You literally pull down the pin, pull the pin at the bottom, and that door comes off super easy. You can also reverse this door. I like that. So some of you, our door needed to open from left to right. That's how it came installed. But if you need to switch that around, you can always do it right to left. What I really like about this and appreciate is that they already had the rack assembled. So literally you buy the rack, the fan is installed, all the shelving is installed for you. And the only thing we did was move the shelves up and down to accommodate our specific units here. It comes with two big big shelves for heavy amplifiers down at the bottom. And then I think there's like 7 other shelves in here. Again, I go over all that in detail in the previous video. But I want to share with you the things that I love about the rack over the past 2 months, but some things that I didn't really like. So one of the things, kind of going back to this lock, so it does come with a lock. So you can lock this up. There's locks right here and here, on the other side, on the back. So if your rack is in a location where you just don't want little fingers touching your stuff, you can lock that up. One thing I found with our unit is the key to this does get a little finicky for whatever reason. Now, we don't use the lock at all. We just leave it open. Most of the time it's either shut like this or just wide open. Here in the lab, we're not worried about people coming in. But that key is a little kind of finicky. So maybe if there was a corner that Red Atom cut, you may not have this massive, crazy, heavy duty lock. But the actual mechanism, opening the door, super, super smooth, always shuts, always opens up real easy. Just like I said, the lock seemed kind of finicky. So that's maybe one negative there. By default, it comes with a fan. So there's a cooling fan up at the top. So of course, heat rises. So all the heat is going to rise to the top. That exhaust fan is going to suck that heat out and blow it out the top. It does get a little loud. And so I would love to see in a future version of this rack to have kind of like some whisper quiet type fans, some fans that had a lower decibel level. We didn't measure this to see how loud. It's not a big deal in this room, but it does have noise. And so if this rack is going to be inside your room, that might be something that you look at replacing down the road. getting something a little bit more quieter, sometimes a computer fan, might even be able to do like an AC infinity fan and replace it with that. But again, it's included, and this whole rack by itself, even with that, is way cheaper than a lot of the competitors. So to me, that's not a negative. It's just something to know going into it. It's not going to be whisper quiet. But I love the fact they give you the spacers. So as you can see here, you know, we've got a Zadoo up here on some shelving, got a Panasonic 4K player, got the Kaleidescape. So that's a custom. When you buy the Kaleidescape, it comes with the rack here. But this spacer below, we just wanted to put some ventilation between there, some spacing. And so you've got these 2U and 4U spacers throughout. And so you can design that to where you've got some space between your units, especially like your AVR. It's going to put off a lot of heat. So definitely I wouldn't advise like sandwiching that in there. Put some space in between there. But these blank spaces come with it. Another thing that's really cool, super easy. So again, these are lockable over here. But to pull this side panel off, you literally push in, pull out, lift up, comes off. So I love being able to have side panel access, although for the most part, we really wouldn't need access to the side except for cable management. Now I'll talk about cable management in a minute when we go around the back, but I'll bring the camera over here and I'll do a little B-roll. You can kind of see what the side panels look like, what the different shelving looks like. And so all the way at the bottom, you've got these big, massive, heavy duty with rear support shelves, and then as you go up higher, you've got some smaller shelves in there. So but that makes it, I mean, like I said, it doesn't get any easier than this. Drop that down in there, 2 fingers, and then like I said, you can lock that back. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the back. I'll show you some cool things there. All right, so I'm gonna start like up here at the top. It's gonna get pretty dark in here and it's gonna be a little bit difficult to see, but you can just see this here, there's a double door. So we remove it, and the biggest reason is this is an active rack. Now don't be criticizing me because of our terrible job on cable management. We don't have the ability to cable manage because we're constantly swapping out AVRs, we're constantly swapping out amplifiers, and we're testing out different products. So it's gonna be impossible for us to cable manage and have this looking nice all the time. You can see we've got our power, our speaker power amplifiers here. We've got some OSD amplifiers, a monolith amplifier. So we're constantly testing stuff out. We've got all our speaker wires coming out from the sidewall over here. So one thing to note, and let me turn this on manual because I got to crank this way up. So down here, you can see there's this little spot. So when you buy the rack, there's a little panel here. You remove this panel. And so ideally what's going to happen is your speaker wire or your HDMI cable, your power cords, all of that is going to come down to the bottom. It's going to go underneath here. Then it's going to get fed up through here. And then behind those 2 doors, you'll be able to connect all of your stuff. Again, this is an active rack. And so we really can't leave the doors on because we're constantly swapping stuff out. And so we just left it open. It's going to allow everything to be more cooler, but it is going to bring in more dust. So you see here, got some dust. So one thing that's kind of cool, I would love to see them add, Rusty found some magnetic lights. So it's going to be kind of hard to see. But the sweet thing about this is it's magnetic. And so it just literally, you just find any kind of metal in here, it attaches. So we've got like one up here. Turn this down a little bit, down over here. You can see we put one on the side. And what's interesting about these is their motion sensor. So if I back away after, I don't know, a few seconds, they'll go off. But this is super handy. And so when you're working on your rack, instead of putting on a headlamp, you know, instead of getting out some LED lights or whatever, you can see they just shut off. But as we get close, as soon as we walk up, it sees both those lights kick on. So those are super inexpensive on Amazon. Again, they don't sell these. It's just something that we found that we thought would be helpful. And so that's something that we installed on there. One other thing I think would improve this, so we don't move this ever. Like, it is literally installed. We don't need to move it. We've got easy access behind here, so we don't have to push it out. We don't have a whole lot of extra cables right here. But as you can see, these don't have the biggest casters. So if you are planning on loading this thing up with a ton of gear, with a lot of heavy amplifiers and, you know, AVRs, processors, all of that stuff, if you're going to be loading that up and you need to be able to move this a lot, like maybe for whatever reason you got to pull it in and out quite often, you might want to consider finding some like basically some bigger casters. Because of those wheels aren't super, you know, large, if you were to weigh it down with hundreds of pounds, you know, I think the cabinet weighs like 300 pounds by itself. If you want to weigh that down, just going to be a little bit harder to maneuver, to pull that in and out, especially if you're on carpet like we are. But again, not a big deal for us because we don't ever need to move this at all. So as I mentioned earlier, there's different sizes. You can go as high as a 42U, which is the unit that we have here. The 42U is $17.99. And the interesting thing is, a lot of times, well, I say a lot, probably about a third of the ones that we have shipped have gone out super inexpensive freight. And here's what I mean. Our distributor has different locations all around the US. If they have basically like a local route, we can do like shipping on a rack like this is like 45 bucks for one. So if you ordered 2 of them, you're talking $90. So it's super inexpensive to be able to do that. If you're outside of that, then it's just going to be regular freight shipping, which definitely costs more. But if you're interested, like I said, dude, these are really hard to beat. So looking down at the specs, it comes with 2 5U shelves. So that's the big ones down on the bottom, 7 2U shelves, and 9 2U blank. Dimensions on this one is 23.6 inches wide, 23.6 inches deep, and 80.9 inches tall. And so when you're thinking about that, and it's 334 pounds. So definitely it's pretty heavy. The other thing I want to show you, so like I said, there's a 42U and it goes all the way down to like I think they even have a 12U. So if you're interested in any size, just hit me up. Go to the website, obsessedhometheater.com, click on Contact Us. Send me an email, say, hey, Michael, you know, what would be the cost, shipping? Give me your address, and then I can look up a shipping cost and find out how much that's going to be and get back with you. So the other thing I want to show you, I forgot to mention this, is these don't come with it, but we do sell these separately. So these are called lacing bars. So when we were behind there, you'll notice that we didn't have any cable management. And again, we're not going to do any cable management because this is an active rack. We continually are swapping out gear. So it makes no sense for us to tidy that up, make it look all great, for us to have to come back with wire cutters and undo stuff. But anyway, so I'm gonna flip around to the back one more time. I may have to, this is gonna be interesting because I just don't have a whole lot of room back there. But essentially, I'll maybe put some photos on the screen of what racks look like with some lacing bars and some cable management. It may not even be the Red Atom because I don't think we've got any photos of that. But what this allows you to do is, let's say for instance, all of your speaker wires that come out of your amplifiers, you could come out of that, bring those along this, and then use zip tie or use Velcro straps to secure those to it so it keeps those cables lifted so all that weight isn't pulling down on like your banana cables and such. And then over, you know, you route them over here to the side, and then you can route them down the rack, kind of hidden and tucked away. So this just allows you to add some cable management. These don't come included with these. So if you need these are super affordable. I think they're like $63 for a set of 10. So again, if you're interested in that, when you send me an email, just say, hey, Michael, I also need, you know, 10 of these or 20 of these, but 10 should be enough for a 42U rack. And so let's swing around the back one more time. I'll just show you just physically how these would go, and then we'll wrap up the video. All right, so basically you're going to get 10 of these, and then you're going to get screws, and so they simply just slide in here. You're going to line them up with the screws, and then just put a screw on the right, screw on the left. So my recommendation, again, I'm not an expert at this, I would bring this down a little bit. Let's say we were adding one beneath this, and let's say you have 11 or 13 pair of speaker wires here. So they're going to come out of here, especially if you got banana plugs. I would install this down just a little bit, so then your wires come down, hang down a little bit, and then they can go along the inside of this track here. Like let's say, for instance, if this HDMI cable, we're going to cable manage that. So that would kind of sit along like that, and then would bring it all the way over to the side. So anyway, it just allows you the opportunity to zip tie these or use Velcro straps. Again, I'm not an expert on this. I've never actually done any cable management for a rack. And so I'm sure this is like an art form. And the guys that do this professionally they're amazing. And they have spent countless hours making sure, and they have some, certain tips and tricks that they use. So I'm sure there's even some videos online that can help you figure out best practices for that. But I just wanted to show you that that is an option for the Red Atom racks. Well, I'm super excited to be able to share the Red Atom racks with you. This is one of those brands that has flown under the radar. Most people aren't aware of them. I'm a fan. I love what they provide, the build quality, the value, the feature set that they provide. I'm just really, really enjoying what I'm seeing. It's been a great addition here in the home theater lab here at Obsessed Home Theater. So guys, I'll have links to the Red Atom racks down in the description. If you need one, head over to the website, obsessedhometheater.com. Be glad to help you out there. Hope you guys have an incredible week. God bless, and I'll catch you in the next video.